What I'd like to go over with you now is this right here, which is a PowerPoint for TNA Assignments Rev PPT. So I'm going to click on it. And you saw this earlier, but I took it off and it had 4 questions on it. The fourth actually is your discussion board question or the post. And I kind of explained, or I explained what you needed to do there. So let's go over this. And then I'll try to explain my reasoning here. I try to make it easy, but some people think it's more complicated. So just go with it. This isn't what you're going to have to turn in when I'm talking about format. You don't have to do a PowerPoint. You actually have charts you have to fill in. But let me explain to you what my reasoning is. I didn't think you'd want to watch a 1 hour tape as I go through everything. So let me try to capsulize it. Okay, first of all, identify a current problem in your community that concerns you. Brainstorm ideas for 3 different proposals for plans or projects that would address that problem. For each proposal you described in number 1, identify an appropriate audience. For example, if you described an idea for a research project on the environmental risks of fracking, identify an organization or agency that might support that research. Also, explain why you believe this would be an interested audience. So far I see 3 things. I have a problem, an issue, or a problem in the community. It could be a worldwide problem. It could, but you have to be real careful with that. You don't want to make it too broad. All right, so we've got the problem. Now we're going to come up with 3 different proposals for plans, for projects, or for a plan of action. Okay, so then next to that, we're going to have to put who would be interested in that. For example, fracking. Well, people, if you're the oil company, you're not going to want to hear negative things about natural gas. Okay, but I guess we've got consumer groups that are against fracking. You would want to maybe write to them or write to homeowners, because apparently some people think that the earthquakes that we're having in Texas are due to fracking. The third one is you'll review the front page of a newspaper or online news source, probably easier to do online. That's what I did. Find 2 or 3 articles that describe problems that interest you for some reason. For each one, describe an idea for a proposal that would address that problem. Okay, so let's go here and what um I've thought about lately is the Sunshine Protection Act, which will go into effect in 2023. So we will not be falling back in November, that first weekend in November. We'll just keep daylight saving time. Okay, now that sounds great for a lot of people, but for some people it does not. So let's explore that. So I see that as a problem. So I thought about because you're supposed to come up with 3 proposals for the Sunshine Protection Act. Well, one would be enumerating the problems that are going to occur with it. I don't know what it is about humans, but we always think of the negative when things are going to change. And maybe that's not a bad thing, because sometimes in exploring the negative, you find out it's actually positive. Another could be a proposal that's a letter of disapproval. We'll talk about who that would go to. Or it could be a proposal, it could be a PowerPoint addressing school safety, especially in the mornings, because at 8 o'clock it's going to be pitch black. So what to do with little bitty kids who walk to school, even middle school, high school kids, or have to catch the bus in the dark? You know, there are a lot of things that work in the dark. So anyway, okay, so that's what I did. So then I said, all right, the next part of it is you have your three proposals, and then to the right of it, you would write who would be the people you would address, who would be your audience. That's what this is here. So if I go back to the first one, enumerating the problems that are going to occur, I would either write by Texas state legislators or the U.S. House of Representatives. Now, in order to do this, this is where you put your civics and government knowledge in there. How does a bill go through and how does it get passed? Well, we know the president, by the time it gets to him or her one day, by the time it gets to him, he can either sign it or veto it. So all this work that went into making this bill possible and to put it into law, by him refusing to sign for it and deciding to veto it, all these months have gone for naught, you might think. Now, the reason I said U.S. House of Representatives, if you do some research on it, it's already passed. The bill has passed through the Senate. And those of y'all who are into government, you're going to be attorneys and all that. You know that now it goes from the Senate to the House. It goes into committees and it's mulled around because that's why it's going to take another year to get to President Biden's desk. And maybe it will and maybe it won't. Let's say that the House does decide to pass it. And let's say that Biden does sign to pass it, which he probably would. Okay, well, you've got one more alternative. Now, what's federal law may not be state law. When you think about things like marijuana, for example, that's probably the best one. There is a federal law prohibiting the use of marijuana for recreational purposes. However, in states like Colorado or California, you can go to your neighborhood dispensary and get it in all candy, syrup. You want to smoke it, whatever you want to do, you can go get it. And it's okay with the state. Now, theoretically, the federal government could come in and raid that place and send everybody to prison or send you to prison because there is a federal law that says you can't do it. But then the states are independently saying you can't. So let's go back to daylight savings time now that I got your interest. Go back to daylight savings time, there are some states that do not practice it. So the spring forward, fall back, they don't even have to recite that in their minds. They stay on one time zone, one year round, 365 days a year. So they can opt out. So let's say this goes into the government, the federal government passes it with a stroke of a pen, Joe Biden passes it. Well, now you could appeal to your legislators in Austin. And so that's what I'm saying. One of those would be somebody that it would probably depend on whether or not you do this proposal after it's passed and it's a federal law. So, and you're not. So you probably would want to write to your U.S. House of Representatives people, the people in your district, find out who your people are, write to them and give them a proposal. Okay, so let's go to letter of disapproval with compelling reasons why we shouldn't have this. Again, the same people. Probably start with the US House of Representatives because it hasn't gone through there. And remember, it has to go through them. It's already gone through the Senate. It has to go through the House of Representatives and then the president in order to even be law and to challenge it in Texas or ignore it. Okay, case involving school safety. Now, this is another one. Do you would want to talk to school boards about this? And they're citizens, okay? And supposedly, I think it really helps to have people on the school board who have children in the district that they're serving because of the nature of some of the things that come through. So if your parents are board members, they really have a lot of weight that they carry with. I mean, a lot of them defer to the administration, so you might want to put them in here, but I would put the school board at the point. They should be your point there, your first group to talk to. So you're giving a PowerPoint to the school about school safety. And this is why they would be interested in it, because over here you need to say, well, why would these people be interested in this? So I put that in parentheses. The reason you would want to give a PowerPoint to the school board is because you're, beside proving an education for their children, districts should take care, should have been providing an education for their students. School districts should take care to ensure the safety of their students. Having students walking or catching buses first thing in the morning invites accidents and child predators. Okay, so I've given 3 proposals. Okay, with each proposal, I told you who would be interested and why. And I should have put a D and an I in there. Sorry about that. Okay, so here's my thinking, and I took some of this out. What I did, let me make this a little bit bigger. I went through several, the Boston Globe, the Houston Chronicle, the Dallas Morning News, because I like to know what's going on outside of the DFW area. And I don't know if y'all have ever done this. Maybe you have an IDS class or something that you did this for, where you get articles from different parts of the world and see what's going on. And what's interesting is the commonalities. Almost everything that you pull up is going to have the attack in Ukraine, because that is the most pressing thing. Now, another thing you're going to see is the recession that's hitting us right now, and the feds are raising the interest rate. And right now, if you want to buy a new car, you probably can't buy a car. A friend of mine was just telling me the other day, she's got it's probably a 2017 maybe Lexus, and she always gets the same color. It's silver, and the silver interior and all of this. She was contacted just the other day by a dealership who wants to pay her more for her used car than she paid in 2017. And she said, well, of course. She said, but do you have a brand new Lexus, same model, same color? I said, oh, no, we don't have any of those. So see, there's the catch 22. It's just like selling your house now. You probably are going to get triple what you paid in the 90s for it. But then what are you going to buy with it? Because the thing you want to buy is going to be more expensive unless you want to move to an area of the United States that is not as expensive as this one. Okay, off my soapbox. So I kept looking at these 3, and there was a commonality, and it was about daylight savings time. So what I did is this right here, I blew it up. Okay, I went over here and I read about it. and got some ideas. Okay. And so I've done that. Now, all you're going to have to do is just do right click, copy and paste it onto the chart. Okay, so that's one. Okay, then the second one I saw was from the Dallas Morning News. That first one was from the Boston Globe. This is the Dallas Morning News, and this is what it says about winners and losers. So I just want to show you what it looks like. And they do want you to I guess I could connect with Facebook. Okay. No, and I'm not going to do that. So I'll just hit the back button here. Okay. Is that the same one? No, that may be a different one. Winners and losers. Click out of this. Well, I can't pull it up. I tried it and tried it again last night, but you'll go over to that Dallas one. Okay, so I'm going to click on this. I was able to read it. Then you're going to click on this and right click, copy, and then you're going to paste it in the chart. I just did this so I could show you what my reasoning was when I did all of this. Okay, so then I read that one. So I just chose 2 articles. Oh, okay. And notice that I'm putting what number this is on those. The number 1, number 2, number 3, that's number 3. Okay, so my 3 different proposals are change federal legislators' mind, come up with a plan to adjust school schedules for school safety, and exempt Texas from this law if it passes on federal level. So this is what my plan is going to be. Whichever one I decide, I can't do all 3, but whichever one I decide, that's what my goal will be. Now, let me say this. And this is beautiful that I've saw several of you change your mind during your research because you kept in contact with me about what was going on, and you were finding different points of view that you agreed more with than your original idea, and you wanted to change. Absolutely. In fact, that tells me a lot about you, that you have an open mind and that it's not closed off to other possibilities. And that is wonderful. So that speaks to you as a person as well. Now, if you feel strongly about something and you want to pursue it, then just go ahead and do it. But I would keep my mind open. All right, so that is what we went through here. So those are the 3 questions there. So that is not what I want you. That's not the format I want you to use. So let me get to that real quick. Now, the form that you're actually going to fill out is at the beginning of this. You're going to click on here and I'll show you what you need to do. The reason I did the PowerPoint is I wanted you to see how I went about finding the proposal, or well, not even the proposal, but the topic that I want to, because I haven't decided which one I'm going to do yet, or which angle I'm going to do, who my audience is going to be. I have not decided yet. So I wanted to make it simpler for you. I almost just decided to just let you do it in whatever form you wanted to do it in. But then I thought, well, let's just go ahead. I think this is pretty simple. So let's click on here. Okay, so just put your name up here and the date here and see the PowerPoint for directions. So what I would do here is put my problem. The problem is that the daylight savings time or the Daylight Protection Act is going to cause lots of problems for people. Okay. Then each of the rows is dedicated to a different proposal, audience, different reasons why they would be interested in it. So if I wanted to talk about, my proposal is to change the minds of the US House of Representatives people and have them vote against daylight saving time, therefore killing the bill right there before it even goes to the president. So I guess I would just say compelling US House of Representatives to vote against the daylight protection plan. Okay. My audience, US House of Representatives. Why would they be interested? Well, don't put well in there. These people are supposed to be interested in what you want. Now, somebody was just telling me the other night that there are 700 representatives down in Austin, but there are 10,000 lobbyists who are special interest groups who unfortunately take precedence over the common man because they pump in a lot of money to these people and to their districts. So I think that the representatives down in Austin are thinking, well, if we buy into this, no pun intended, and we take their money, it will help the people in our community. Well, if that's the case, they should tell us about it. Explain to us, like we're 4-year-olds, how is this going to help? By giving ExxonMobil precedence over everybody else. Of course, they're probably going to, I don't know if they would be for it or against it because it's going to take more energy in the morning and it's going to take in the summer or when it gets hot outside, you're going to have to run the AC longer. And if we're in a crunch like right now, where it's over $100 a barrel, it may have gone down, but oil's expensive. That'd be a great boon for ExxonMobil and Phillips Petroleum and all of them. So I don't know, but just know lobbyists, some of y'all might become lobbyists. I believe that they get precedence over you and me. Okay, so I would put that there. Why would the audience be interested? Well, the House of Representatives, there are more of them than senators, and because of the different districts, they should be interested in what works best for their constituents. So that's why they would be interested. The proposal about a letter of disapproval that I would put in my audience there. I would also then say why that audience is going to be interested, and then I would do the same here. So you could go back and look at the 3 different proposals and the audiences, and then remember in italics, I said why they would be interested. The second, okay, the second graph said each of the rows is dedicated to a different online site, its URL, and the idea for a proposal that you got from it. Okay, so you're going to say what the name of the article is. You're going to put the URL here and what ideas did you get for your proposal there. Okay, so, okay, but the one about the winners and losers, so I could actually put winners and losers. Okay, then I would put this. Then I would put the URL. Okay, and then I would say the idea, this shows both sides of the debate. Um, and shows compelling reasons why should be permanent. But right now, I'm saying it should not. Okay, all right, so this is what you would do here. And then you would do another one there. Okay? And that's it. If you have any questions, please feel free to tell me.